Welcome back to Ghana Connect. So now, like I told you, we are discussing the economy. You look at the numbers so far. The city has hit 14 cities. There are those who are predicting it could hit 20 before the year ends. What are your own living realities? What is the economy doing to you? Are you feeling the pinch as others are, or you have a different scenario? Reach out to us on our social media platforms, Joy FM 99.7 on Facebook, as well as on Twitter. I'll be ready to share in your perspectives. But on the show tonight, connecting with us, Akin Sopoku is a former TESCON president at the University of Ghana. Philip Saba is a youth activist. Shaibatu Abdul Rashid is an advertiser. Ira Adams Karim is a broadcaster. Yaumenu is aspiring to be communications officer of the NDC in the Ablikuma West constituency. So these are the people who are joining me on the show today to tell us what their living realities are and how exactly they want to feel the pinch. For some of my guests who have joined for all this very important conversation. So, Shaiba, if you can hear me. Hello, Shaiba. Right,
Hello,
Shaiba.
Asante,
So,
I can hear you.
right. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Connect. What are your living realities? Just briefly, how are you feeling the crunch in the economy?
I mean, definitely, it's not easy. It's really been a hard reality to wake up to as a Ghanaian every day and realize that things are not getting better, and that like there's almost nothing that is being done about it. So I'm definitely feeling the harsh realities. It's touching me, my family, and everybody around me.
Right. Philip, are you on with us? Philip, Don Saba.
Yeah, Kwaku, I'm with you.
Right. So, I mean, you are a rich man. I mean, you are just not feeling anything in the economy.
That would be so upset to say that even I think the rich men are even feeling the hardship now. The hardship you can't dodge it in any way. Wherever you find yourself, the poor and the rich, they are all feeling it from their angles. Anywhere you pass, you feel it. And I know our big men are equally feeling that heat right now. The economy, the country is very hot. It's a challenge. It's a great thing to be a Ghanaian at the moment. If you are Ghanaian and you are surviving, you are doing things as normal that as you used to do years back or few months back, you should be applauded. You should be. I think the economy is very bad. The country is hot. I mean,
Okay, let me come to Yamenu. Yamenu joining me in studio. Yao,
Kwaku,
how's it going?
I mean, it's been tough. I mean, we are living a very sad reality. You wake up in the morning and you tend to lose hope, and things are just not getting better. But let me use this opportunity to say a very good evening to the good people of Ablikuma West, and then also to my party, the NDC. I mean, Kwaku, to be honest with you, times are hard. Times are very hard. You wake up in the morning and you ask yourself, do we have a president? Do we have people in charge of this country? Because everything seems not to be working. You wake up and they say the dollar is 8 cedis. The next day it is 10 cedis. The next day is 12 cedis, and you know about the number of promises that has been given. And I mean, you look back and you hear the candidates then, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, and the assurances he gave to the good people of Ghana that he's going to arrest the dollar. I mean, he actually went on to say he has arrested the dollar, giving the key to the former IGP. I don't know if he took it away, but if he took the key away, we need to go and look for him, because it appears that now the CD is rather in cells or in prison, and the dollar it keeps going.
Very, very interesting. Radams Karim, what are your own perspectives of the economic situation at the moment?
Very good evening to you, Kwaku, Asante, and to all your listeners. I believe you can hear me.
We can hear you.
All right, thank you very much. Kwaku, in fact, I don't know where to start from, because if you're someone, I mean, you have my mobile number, so I'm sure you probably follow my WhatsApp status every morning. And there's this meme that I post. Apparently, a voice from what's the man's name? Opamwo. Because that's the sad reality, that as a times are hard, and it's not even news anymore. Everybody in Ghana today knows that times are hard. Everybody in Ghana understands that times are difficult, and I, for one, I've restricted myself from even stepping out of that, because when you step out of the house,
So Karim, we are having some bad feedback from your connection. If you can please fix that, then we'll come back to you. I'll be very grateful for that. So let me go to Akins. Akins Opoku is a former president of TESCON. You know TESCON to be the students' wing of the governing New Patriotic Party. He was just the immediate past president at the University of Ghana. So Akins, do you share the sentiments of Shaiba, Radams Karim, Sabah, and Mainu, who is joining me in studio? What are your own perspectives? Is the reality the same? Akins, kindly unmute.
Hello, Kwaku, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, Kwaku, a very good evening to yourself and then your cherished listeners and also our panelists. In fact, Kwaku, yes, times are hard. In fact, the President of the Republic and every member of the New Patriotic Party and this government have indeed acknowledged the fact that as part of the global recession and the global problems that we are facing as a world, I mean, things are not as comfortable as it used to be, but we are hopeful that as our CD level is as bad, our CD depreciation is bad, fuel prices are high and all of that, some fundamental issues are also being dealt with, some projects that
Karim, can you mute, please? Akins, I'll come back to you. Karim, can you kindly mute? You are giving us some feedback whilst you try to fix your network, please. Akins, go ahead.
All right. So, like I was saying, yes, I mean, everybody in Ghana, including the president himself, has acknowledged the fact that, yes, we are all suffering from the global recession that is happening around the world. Ghana is not an exception. And so things are not that comfortable, Kwaku, but I'm hopeful that from the first and the last person of this government, we are saying, and the managers of the economy are saying, that a little sooner, I mean, things will be on track, and then the economy, the CD, and then the fuel prices will be back on track. Yes.
Akins, do you agree that this is not what this government promised the people of Ghana? Indeed, just when the NPP was elected, you heard there Karim referencing, or someone else referencing, the vice president categorically saying that he had arrested the CD, jailed it, and given the keys to the IGP. The CD seemed to have broken loose from jail, hovering around a staggering 14 cities. Record high. Clearly, this is not what the people were promised.
Yes, Kwaku, in fact, this is not what all of us, I mean, and Kwaku, you would agree with me, and, the president himself, this is not what all of us and the managers of the economy envisaged. But at the end of the day, you cannot also say that you can exempt Ghana from the global recession that is happening. I mean, Kwaku, you would agree with me that when it comes to other things, we compare ourselves to the likes of UK and the likes. These same economies that we compare ourselves to them when it comes to education, infrastructure, and all of that are facing some of the highest inflation rates ever in their history. And so these are not problems that is unique to only Ghana, or you would say that it is the doings or the entire doings. Yes, there are some activities that the government has done that has caused, where we are today. But there again, you cannot entirely say that the fault is as a result of, an entire mismanagement by the government, that we are not true to our words. Yes, indeed, we promised that, the city was going to be arrested. And if you would be true to the fact, before COVID, things were moving on well until, COVID and then this global recession that every country in the world is facing. And so
that is just not true.
Right, Akin. So listen, the global economic situation, the war in Ukraine, COVID, it's affecting all countries. Indeed, if you look at the latest figures now, our city is performing poorly than the currency of Ukraine, where the war is happening. It's performing poorly than the Sri Lankan rupee. So how bad is the international situation affecting us, so much so that we are bearing the brunt of almost all the challenges?
Kwaku, if you would follow my argument when I started, I told you that one of the things that, in fact, even the president of the republic has acknowledged is that, the level at which our city, is depreciating is not nothing to write home about. These are things that we've all accepted. In fact, all of us are bearing the brunt of all of these things. And so, yes, the city depreciation, fuel prices, and all of that are things all of us are not comfortable with. But the point I'm trying to make is in respect to what you were saying, or the question you were asking me, that yes, indeed, this was not what we promised. But again, we cannot also, that is the point I want to make, that we cannot also exempt the fact that this is not the entire doings or a deliberate attempt or doings of the government of the day.
So it's not mismanagement. It's not mismanagement, you say?
No,
it's not.
Kwaku, what I'm saying is that the point that we have to note,
yes,
and that you would agree with me, is that whatever that is happening with respect to our city depreciation and all of that, if you say mismanagement, I would not entirely agree with you. Because
right. Very interesting. So I'll come back to you, Akin. Please hold your guns for me. I'll come back to you. Yamenu, you from your mannerism in the studio, you clearly do not agree with what Akin is saying, but it's still not right. Listen, look at the global economy. Look at the UK. Look at the US. Everyone is feeling the pinch. There's a recession. IMF is predicting the next year will even be worse.
I mean, anybody who sit back and tend to play this, it is global issues. I mean, just like you rightly asked, is Ghana the only country facing global issues? As we speak today, we may have to cast our minds back to the happenings before COVID-19. Kwaku, I have with me a document that is giving some briefings about the industry. And industry, I'm looking at the mining, manufacturing, electricity, water supply, and construction. Kwaku, before we went into COVID-19, the country was not doing anything better. Now, let me show you some data here from Ghana Statistical Service. From when you take the mining sector, from 2017, when President Akufo-Addo took over, as at the fourth quarter, we're doing about 30%. By the eve of COVID-19, we are dropped to about 12.6%. When you go to the manufacturing sector, it peaked somewhere in the third quarter of 2017 at about 13%. By 2019, the first quarter, or the last quarter in 2019, it has dropped to 6.3%. When you look at the electricity supply, it peaked somewhere the fourth quarter of 2017, about 19.40. And by the eve of COVID-19, that is 2019, it has dropped to about 6.0%. When you go to water supply, it is even bad. You don't even want to know. It peaked somewhere in the first quarter of 2018 at 8.2. And the fourth quarter of 2019, it was negative 4.4%.
You're saying that the signs were on the wall.
Now, when you even look at construction, is even bad. when you go to construction, it peaked somewhere around the first quarter in 2018 at 5.2%. On the eve of COVID-19, that is the fourth quarter of 2019, it had dropped to about negative 4.4%. So we were already going to a ditch, and then COVID came to finish us. You had managed the country so poorly by saying you were doing the banking sector, because we're looking at the banking sector, we're looking at the agri sector, we're looking at the services. When you look at services, when you go to the banking sector, you have collapsed the banking sector. With that useless, what do we call it, banking sector cleanup, you say you were doing.
This is something government has said that without doing that, investors, customers were going to lose their money. It was expensive, some have said, but clearly you cannot underplay the utility in that exercise.
Now, what is the net benefit to the ordinary Ghanaian?
The net benefit is that the ordinary Ghanaian whose money were in those banks, which went under, did not lose their money. At the end of the day,
now let me tell you this. You see, this government creates their own issues. I mean, we know the politics of all these things. I mean, we knew some of the banks that were not performing well, and then the government did whatever they had to do with their politics to try to salvage those situations. But now what I'm saying is that you had collapsed the services. Now agriculture, you're doing so bad even before COVID-19. Before COVID-19, farmers could not even find maize to feed their poultry. So the economy and everything about the Ghanaian situation was not better before COVID-19. But COVID-19 came to actually finish us. So I've always said that, I mean, just like the current vice president said, I mean, if the fundamentals are weak, the dollar is going to expose you, the exchange rate is going to expose you. And then COVID came to expose all the weakness and the things that Dr. Baumia had talked about. And we knew that this man had been lying. And when we continue to tell them that...
If the vice president said something, I mean, I'm not sure...
The vice president told us that he has locked the dollar.
Yeah, but if by certain
factors,
by certain factors,
Kwaku, if you have locked the dollar,
I'm not sure we can.
You have locked it. You have locked it, and realize that you were not having the keys. Is it not a lie?
No, he said.
You said you have locked it.
He had locked the CD.
So you locked it.
The CD was performing at the time. Maybe this is what Akins and the likes are saying, that these are just extraneous factors. These are not necessarily down to mismanagement, but it's simply because...
So, Kwaku, I'm telling you that, I mean, it's clearly mismanagement. It's mismanagement because if you have a government and you look at the number of people working at the office of the president, you look at the number of ministers, and sometimes you try to find it difficult to know what some of the ministers are doing. And they're on government payroll. They enjoy all those benefits. And someone like me, I mean, if they were even working and the state was paying them, I mean, you could think you had some benefit. But you have close to about 180 ministers doing nothing. That is mismanagement. And I'm telling you, Kwaku, I want to see the net benefit that has come for the banking sector cleanup they did. Now, I think, is it Akins? Akins mentioned that the government was investing in education and all those things. I mean, Kwaku, go and look at enrollment from 2012 to 2020. A work that was done by, I think, UNESCO indicates that the free education policy has not in any way add to the numbers.
So hold your horses on that free SHS debate. I mean, Karim is back with us, but I'll go to Karim shortly. Yeah. Philip, you've heard the argument from Akins, clearly saying that these are extraneous times. The factors that has led to the slump of the city and other economic difficulties that we are facing is clearly because of external factors. Yaumenu here does not agree. Where do you stand on that?
Kwaku, this is not time to be too arrogant to accept the fact that things are being mismanaged. You know, we are faced by crisis, and in crisis communication, of course, you need to, first of all, you need to accept the blame and find a way to restore faith and to get people to understand you. This whole argument of COVID and then Russia-Ukraine war being our issue, you see, when you look at the figures, you look at the data, you realize that in 2020 and 2021, the dollar was a bit moderate. When we closed down the importation and other things that we do, the transactions, our dollar was stable. What caused for the rise, the difficulty our currency is facing? It's because of high demands of the dollar. When the demand is high, then they have to increase it for a lot of people to meet up. So the highest bidder gets it. So at the end of the day, realize that when we were not importing and other things, the country was stable. We were able to feed ourselves for over a year, and we could continue to do that. See, if we are putting the blame on COVID, I don't even think that COVID should even come into the picture. It is all about mismanagement. You see, when COVID was there, what did the government do so extra different? Was it the free water or the free light? We were billed later on. We paid them. Some of us are still paying them, and the COVID levy, and we are buying a whole lot of. When you buy something, you pay a lot of taxes. And Kwaku, just fry. That was Wednesday. I went to buy medicine, and then the cost was around 1,800. VAT alone was 300 cedis, and I had to do more money. And they charged me e-levy of about closer to 150 cedis. So you realize that a lot of levies and problems are coming, and we are just trumpeting that, oh, COVID. Don't forget that when COVID came, IMF gave some relief to countries like Ghana, which Ghana benefited from IMF. When COVID came, people were donating to the government. People were giving money to government to cushion the economy, and a whole lot of things that government benefited from this. Where is all this? Where are the money that the government made from COVID? I think we even benefited from COVID even more than a lot of people. And you gave us hope. You told us that no, the money is there. You worked in the Bank of Ghana. You know that Ghana has money. It's just about mismanagement. Now you are on top of it. You are managing the issues. And we are in a ditch. We are doomed. I mean, there is no focus. We don't know where we are going exactly.
So clearly you don't believe there is hope. You think that the times are going, things are going to even get worse before they get better. Okay, Philip, please hold it there for me. I'll come back to you. Radam Karim is back with me. Karim, where do you stand on this argument that a lot of these factors are just exogenous? They are not necessarily because of bad management of the economy, and that with time, the government of President Nana Akufo-Addo will be able to turn the tide and get Ghanaians on a much safer landing.
Kwaku.
Yes, Karim.
Very good evening to you and your listeners once again. Apologies for the network situation. Our country is so terrible now that even our network is affected. I only have two things to say as far as these issues that you have mentioned are concerned. One is that the President, His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, his Vice President, Dr. Alhaj Mahmoud Bawumia, and the Finance Minister, Honorable Ken Oforiatta, should shut up if they have nothing better to tell Ghanaians.
Oh, but...
Because clearly, there's no other excuse and explanation that they have to offer us. They were the same people who told us prior to electing them in office that if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate would expose you. Kofi, today the exchange rate is there for everybody to see. The exchange rate is there for everybody to see. I traveled to Cameroon last week. When I was leaving Ghana, I had to change my cedis into dollars at the rate of 10 Ghana cedis. I came back into the country after a week, and the exchange rate had jumped from 10 Ghana cedis to 12 cedis, 50 pesos. And you want to blame it on COVID-19? They should even blame COVID-19 for covering their asses. Because if not for COVID-19, our currency would have been worse.
Yeah, Karim. So if we can keep the language a bit clean, because of the time.
Apologies to all of our listeners. But that and in all of these things that are happening, it is the pomposity with which they act. That's what affects me. That's what I'm much more concerned about. They should shut up. If not for COVID-19, we'll be more exposed than they are today. And just as the immediate past speaker mentioned, it is because of COVID-19 that we're not importing things into the country. People were not transacting in dollars and all of that. So it was more of the city transactions and all of these things. Nobody had to travel to China or Dubai to import things into the country. And of course, and so our currency was okay, it was safe. For people who understand basic economics will tell you that the moment there is a demand for another currency, what it automatically does is that it depreciates the currency of the country. And so there's a huge demand for the US dollar now because we are no longer under restrictions, because there's no COVID-19, because people are traveling everywhere and importing things into our country. And so there's a huge demand for dollars. People are traveling out of the country on a daily basis. There's a huge demand for dollars. Everybody's transacting in the dollar. Landlords in Ghana are transacting in dollars. And so what do you expect to happen? Obviously, you expect that our currency will depreciate because there's no demand for the Ghanaian currency. And what are the fundamentals? The fact is that we are not producing anything in this country. If we want to save our currency, then one would expect that one district, one factory, that these guys talked about
Karim,
in 2016.
you are clearly conceding that a lot of the things having to do with the city is structural. It has nothing to do with the government in power. You are now coming to the point. You are now coming to the point about how to change the structure, going to one district, one factory, which is clearly the brainwork of the current government to try and shift the system from just importing to now.
Kwaku, the idea. If indeed I mean, of course, it was a good idea to implement one district, one factory. It was a good idea to implement planting for foods and jobs. It was a good idea to implement planting for exports and what have you. But Kwaku, the question we should be asking ourselves is that how is the implementation going? Are we really and truly empowering people to be able to produce content that we can consume locally and export the rest?
Government has inaugurated more than
and dishing it. Oh, they've done what?
They've commissioned more than 100 factories across the country.
More than 100 factories were producing what? In which country? How many people are being employed? What are we exporting? These are questions we should be asking. Government has only set out to rebrand existing factories in the name of creating factories for one district, one factory. There are so many factories that I can point fingers at that existed prior to even the implementation of one district, one factory. So what government has set out to do is to rebrand, is to do what we call pentinamento. That's exactly what government is doing. Dishing out money to party faithfuls, dishing out money to party chicks and party boys in the name of implementing
one district, one factory.
One district, one factory, and what have you. Let's be serious with ourselves and let's be honest with ourselves. Is Ghana the only country that was affected by COVID-19? Is Ghana the only country that was affected by COVID-19? During the era of COVID-19, we had so much money. But what did we do? We ended up distributing this same money to party people. And Felicia Tete is the one who exposed them. You heard the recordings that she was given 50,000 as an executive, giving an extra 50,000 as a parliamentary aspirant or a parliamentary candidate within the constituency. So and so was given this amount. So and so was given this amount. COVID-19 funds that we were supposed to have used judiciously to cushion us as a people, to cushion the ordinary Ghanaian hawker, to cushion the person that lives on hand-to-mouth basis. But what did we do? We decided to share this money amongst ourselves. If indeed we were truly concerned about the Ghanaian people and the Ghanaian currency, we would have spent that COVID-19 money judiciously.
Right. So Karim, I'll come back to you. One of the very important aspects of this conversation is about accountability. Just this week, we know what happened in the UK. There are some who have sought to draw parallel between the UK Prime Minister Liz Truss resigning on the back of the failing economic measures that she had introduced as Prime Minister. Indeed, when she was elected on a certain broad-based principles about how to run the economy. She appointed half Ghanaian, Kwesi Kwarteng, to implement a number of measures. They did implement that. The market did not like those policies, and the pound went down, crashed, and had to take the central bank to intervene to try and save the pound. But she was also not to last. She just lasted about 44 days, becoming the shortest-lived prime minister in UK history. We've heard from the president locally. We've also heard from someone like former President John Mahama, who have all said that the finance minister and other ministers who they've tagged as non-performing must be sacked. Clearly, the president says he's happy with his ministers. So, Shaba, because you want to take leave of us, I want to come to you on this vexed matter about whether or not the president should be doing a massive shake-up of government and whether or not certain heads must be rolling and whether or not at all the parallel that some have sought to draw between Ghana and UK in terms of the principle behind the resignation should be at play at all. Shaiba.
Thank you, Kwaku. And I think it's been a very interesting conversation listening to the other panelists. And I was actually hoping to chip in earlier after Karim that it's very disheartening listening to some panelists on here talking about the fact that we are not the only country and that the whole world is going through a global recession. The difference between those other worlds going through the global recession and Ghana is that you can see other countries taking active measures to cushion their people. But what do we see our president doing? What do we see our leaders doing? We have seen the president go on like national radio to say that he doesn't care about people voting for the NPP in the next parliament, that people can say whatever they want to say. So if I come back to your question about accountability, it is almost a maddening thing to think about for the fact that like there's little, I don't know if I should even say little, there's no accountability whatsoever for the leaders that we have in this country. And it is disheartening. And it's almost looking like a far, far away dream for us to reach, where someone in government would realize that I have failed my people. I have not lived up to what I'm supposed to live up to, and therefore I want to vacate this seat so that someone more competent would take over. We've had regional ministers have their regions flooded, regions where electricity goes off. Nobody is asked any question. Nobody is taking accountability for anything. Nobody is taking blame for anything that is happening in this country. It's almost like we are governless. It's almost like it's just a bunch of people that decided, look, there's money in this country, we are going to spend it. And it's disheartening because these people are not white people, these people are not aliens. These are people that live with us in this country, but it's almost as if they are removed very far away from the reality of the ordinary Ghanaian. So the president saying that he's happy, his ministers, is the most insensitive thing he can ever say, like in the current situation of the Ghanaians, because
the president
all,
says these persons report to him
he
directly.
is not to say. He's not to say.
He's the appointing authority.
Is not to say.
Who is to say?
No, he is not to say, because if you elect someone to do something for the people, they have to always remember. And I think that is something that these people keep forgetting.
So what we did was to elect President Akufo-Addo. The ministers, Shaiba, were not elected by any of us. Those persons were appointed by the president to help him govern. We elected President Akufo-Addo. Yes. So if you have any heat, we can go on President Akufo-Addo. But he says he's so far satisfied with the work his ministers have done. If you have a contrary opinion, you can wait 2024, then you express that.
The people that elected the president gave him the power to appoint to those people who he appointed. So if the subject are saying that they are not pleased with those people, then the president ought to listen to those of us who,
yes, because if you elect people, if you elect somebody and the one that they are supposed to serve says that, look, they are not serving me well, and you come out to say that, oh, I'm okay with how they are serving, what are you trying to say? Are you saying that you don't care about what the people are saying? And the president has unfortunately given us the notion that he actually doesn't care about like what the ordinary Ghanaian is feeling, because going on and saying that he also lives in this country, so you could live in the same place with people and still not be able to relate to their plight. So he living in this country has no relation whatsoever to the fact that he understands what the ordinary Ghanaian is going through. Today I bought one egg for 2 cedi 50 pesos. I had to buy bread and egg for 6 cedis just for breakfast. I had to spend 10 cedis, and I was not even having anything close to a luxurious breakfast. And this was just bread and egg with milk, and I had to spend 10 cedis. Now at least I can afford it. Do you think that a pure water seller on the road with 2 kids can afford to spend 10 cedis on just hair and hair kids? Right. That's like 30 cedis. So if she that woman on that street is saying that not feeling how the ministry or the government is working, the president has no right, out of respect at least, for the ordinary Ghanaian to say that he is happy with it.
Right. So I mean, clearly you are not excited. Akins, let me come to you before I come to Menu here in the studio. Akins, you heard there seems to be some consensus around the table that first, you cannot blame all these economic challenges on, I mean, external conditions, the war in Ukraine, COVID-19, and among other things. But I mean, even shifting from that, people are still taking problems. The people still have challenges with the president insisting that his government is performing well and that he's very, very much, enjoyed with the work that his ministers have done. Akins, kindly unmute, Akins.
Yeah, Kwaku, I think that you should be coming to me more because it looks like the fire is coming. But Kwaku, I think that when I was beginning my presentation, I was clear that, in fact, nobody in this government has not acknowledged the fact that, yes, indeed, we are in hard times. Indeed, our cities, depreciation is not the best and all of that. But Kwaku, in all of these things, okay, let us not. In fact, and I'll respond to some of the issues that my brother from the NDC brought up. In spite of all of these things, let us stay true to the fact. My brother was saying that before COVID, that is in 2018, 2019, this economy was facing, or the economy was in bad state. That is not true to the fact. In fact, this economy before COVID had experienced consistent single-digit inflation from July 2018 to March 2019, 9.3%. In fact, before COVID, this economy had seen a decline in interest rates to about 16%. In fact, before COVID, this economy had seen an increase in its GDP to about 256 billion Ghana cedis. And so when,
does it reflect in the pocket of the people?
No. You see, let me make my point, please. Karim, let me make my point.
Kwaku, I understand. You see, we cannot let Akins make a point because it's like all this
guys, let's have some order. Akins is making a point. Karim, you've spoken. Shaiba, you've also spoken. Let Akins make his point, and then I can give you some time to respond. Please, let's have a little order so that Akins can make his point and you can come in.
Reflect in the life of the people.
Right. So Karim, I'll come. Okay. Well, it seems to me like this will be a very good time to bring in some of the things you've been telling us on social media. And I know the conversation is heated. People are clearly not happy about some of the things. But let's take some social media comments, and then you can come back to my guests who are on Zoom and joining me in studio. So we have a poll that is running on Twitter about whether or not you're excited about how the economy is being run and whether or not you think things can get better. Michael Papaniashale is my colleague. He's joining me with the results. Michael, what is the results?
We have
Electoral Commissioner Michael Papaniashale, the results. Score master.
Okay, so out of 531 people that responded, we have quite a startling figures that are coming through here. And seems to have shifted towards one side. But before I give you the results, what question were we asking? We are asking that, are you reassured that this government can fix the current economic challenges? Well, we asked you to vote, and this is how you voted. Out of over 531 votes, we have 15% going to one particular option. And with the options were yes, no, and I don't care. You could imagine that I don't care even garnered more votes than yes. So you have just 15% of the votes that we had saying that they are reassured that this government can fix the economic challenges that is plaguing the country right now. And 16%, 1% more than those who believed in this government to do the Lord's work, say it cannot be done. Or they don't care at all. Wherever it goes, they don't see how it really benefits them at the end of the day.
Right.
Okay, you want the final one, right? A whopping 70% of the total respondents said no, they are not reassured that this government can fix the current economic challenges.
Very interesting. Papani, so let's go to Facebook. Go to Facebook and let's get some of the comments. But on Twitter, Yao Inti says, the fact that they are silent indicates that they have no answers. Unfortunate. He says something I cannot read. In 2015, when GM announced that they were going to IMF, the city started appreciating. But this time, Upon all the Bank of Ghana, the Ministry of Finance measures, still the cedi is in comatose. He says, Lord Fifi says, how can we have confidence in this government when he's on tour thinking only of himself and his family? Investors have lost all confidence in this economy to invest. Paul Addo says, it's impossible. This government cannot fix anything in the current economic challenge. They were the very people who brought us here. Michael.
Yeah, so I have here from Facebook, we have Sheila, and she says that, well, I'm enjoying the conversation. I would have wished that your questions on Twitter had something of a sort that they should leave there, so that she would have chosen that one to believe. Sheila, thank you very much for that comment. This one is from Alex DDK, and he says that, I like the NDC guy's comments. Spot on. And this one here, well, Kwaku, I don't think that these are words that I can put on air. So please, you may want to put that right again and come again.
Let's tidy up the comments.
Let's tidy up the comments. A few more here. So just one more actually from a gentleman. This name, I don't know, it's written in Arabic or so. But it says that, well, he sides with government. They can definitely fix this economy if we give them some more time. Well, I don't know how much more time you want us to give them, but he should have stated that. I wouldn't believe. But Kwaku, these are some of the comments on Facebook.
Right, very interesting comments there. You can still go out there on our social media pages. Tell us what you are thinking. Let me go on our WhatsApp console. A number of comments have come in. New Tojo from Tema Newtown says our leaders are only interested in winning election and bettering their lot at the detriment of the populace. God bless our homeland, Ghana. That's his comment. This one says, hello, the factories that have been built do not belong to individuals, not government. Government has no presence in those factories. That's according to Ray. A number of your comments coming in. We have about 5 minutes to wrap up. So let me come back here in studio and take my colleague, Menu. Menu, I mean, where do you think we go from here? Do you think that we are going to be able to fix the kind of challenge we are in now? And in terms of the accountability, what do you think we should be doing in a minute or so?
I think that you said we have given the president 4 years to fix this country. But as a matter of fact, I hold the position that President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia do not deserve the next 2 years to lead this country.
So you're saying they should resign?
I'm saying that they don't deserve the next 2 years to lead this country.
But constitutionally, they are going to rule the next 2 years.
That is what decent people do. Decent people say that I think that, I cannot do it. Like the UK Prime Minister, she said, I can't fix it. It's about time that leaders must be honest and sincere with themselves. Dr. Bawumia is finished. The ideas are done. He's bankrupt now. He can't do much. President Akufo-Addo has lost touch with reality. He's telling the people that, and that is what our president is telling us. And clearly, you can hear from my co-panelists and people who are sending comments that, people have lost hope in this government. And I think the alternative is the NDC. And also, we are putting ourselves together to get ready.
There are those who have said that you don't have any better record, that they lived under an NDC government that was doomed. So there were all sorts of challenges. The city was also downgraded at our economy was very poor at the time, and so you just don't have the
someone Dr. Bawumia
or you've learned the lessons for 2024.
Dr. Bawumia is telling you that were you expecting anything better from Dr. Bawumia? The person who told you that at that time that the economy is bad is the one in charge of it today.
No, right. Those are the views of Menu.
So clearly, I think there is something Akin said. I think he need to review this. When you're looking at the economy, in terms of policy and nation building, we are looking at factors like the agriculture, we are looking at service, and we are looking at industry. And I was expecting him to be giving variables contrary to what I've given, especially when it comes to the industry
right.
and the work they have done in services and all that. But when you throw in variables that, what do we call it? The city was this, and we're going at that.
Without figures.
Without any figures and all that. So when we are trying to put our figures, I know him from the University of Ghana. We need to do our university some good by giving out some good information
right.
out there. So
very important points.
Yeah.
Don Saba, let me come to you maybe in 30 seconds or 45 seconds about what you think can take us to a next pedestal, how we are able to fix things and get our economy back on track. Don.
All right, Kwaku. So already I think we are in a ditch, and it will be very difficult for us to coming up as Ghanaians. You see, we need serious leadership. And we need our leaders to show working and show that they are taking the route that would make us better. It is not time to be, I keep saying that this is not the time to be arrogant. this is a time for you to accept blame and give us ways that you can get things done. You see, someone from UK, the Prime Minister resigned because, Charlie, what I promised you guys or what you guys want me to do, I can't do again. So I'm off. So what is so difficult to our leaders that they hold the positions till death or election do us part?
So I mean, very interesting perspective from Don Saba. So Philip, thank you very much for that perspective. And let me give the last word to Karim before I give the final to Akin. So Karim, in 30 seconds, briefly, you've done radio before. So what do you think should be done? Where do we move to from here?
All right, thank you very much, Asante. For me, I think that it's a matter of principles. We have come to understand that the crop of leaders that we have currently are a bunch of deceitful liars and wicked people who are not concerned about the plight of the Ghanaian people. If it's anything to go by, if they had an iota of principle in them, I'm sure Ken Ofori-Atta would not be finance minister by now. But of course, he's a relative of the president, so he's still there. I'm sure the president himself by now should have stepped aside and found someone more competent enough to
run the economy. So, I mean, you are repeating these claims that the president, the finance minister, a number of people must go. Right. Very interesting. Karim, I'm sorry I had to cut you there, but that's all time would allow us for. Akins, final 30 seconds. Akins, what are your last words, Akins?
Kwaku, I think that the panelists and yourself haven't been fair to me. That's
Akins. So
let me make my final point. Kwaku, yes, in fact, I mean, we have acknowledged the fact that, yes, we are going through hard times, and this government is the only government that can bring us back to the positive, footing.
Right.
But let us also, point to the fact that in spite of all of these things, do you know that cocoa prices for, our farmers have been increased by 21%?
Very much so.
In spite of all these hardships, salaries are being paid,
Cola is being paid,
allowances are being paid, and all of that. And so for me, I believe strongly that Ghanaians should be patient with this government, and then we are going to roll out policies that are going to bring back, this economy back to its positive footing.
Right. So very interesting. Thank you very much for joining us on Ghana Connect today. We had Akins, you just heard from him. We had Philip Saba. We had Shaibatu Abdul Rashid, Ura Adams, Karim, bringing the heat there, and then Yaumenu joined me in studio. Very interesting thought on Ghana Connect. My name is Kwaku Asante. I know this conversation is going to go on in your homes, in your offices, and your cars about whether or not we are able to put the economy back in shape. Next week, we'll come your way with another exciting edition. We have sports next.